Hello, everyone. A very good morning to you all. I'm Pragya, your host for the session. Happy to welcome you all to the brand new session of Expert Talk series organized by Institute of Product Leadership. We have been successfully hosting the Expert Talk series, inviting the best of minds to share their perspective and inspire the community of working professionals in product management, data science, design, and strategy. So before we start today's insightful session, let me give you a quick intro to the Institute. The Institute of Product Leadership is Asia's first business school providing accredited degree programs and certification courses in product management, product leadership, data science, design, strategy, and leadership. The Institute has partnered with 3 universities in India and the University of Houston in the United States. The Institute was founded in 2012 with a singular mission of creating 10,000 plus product leaders in the country. Ever since, the organization has designed and delivered programs in collaboration with various institutes, universities, and corporates to senior working professionals to help them make career transition into product leadership. The Institute has also built and developed a community of over 3,300 plus successful alumni leading the product, data, and design teams across the world. We are also knowledge partners for 250 plus organizations worldwide. You can find out more about the Institute and the programs offered on our website. Please check the chat window for the URL. And for those who have joined us via LinkedIn, please check the comment section for the URL. And once our speaker presents his insights, we'll open up for questions. Please keep your questions ready. You can post your questions in Zoom Q&A window, or you can raise your hand so that we can unmute you. And also the session is being streamed live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So viewers on any of these channels, please feel free to post your comments, post your questions in the comment section, and we'll share it with the speaker. So without further delay, let me welcome the very distinguished and renowned speaker for today, Roshan Raju. Roshan is a product designer with 7 years of experience in product designing and digital solutions for the fintech and semiconductor industry. He is fond of understanding the complex systems, breaking it after presenting. It is in a form that that can be understood and used by all. So basically, user friendly. His current line of work revolves around empowering the small business owners and their business in the USA, UK, and Canada to achieve the higher rate of success and introduce business growth. So a very warm welcome to you, Roshan. Handing over the session to you.
Thank you, Pragya, for the introduction. Hi, guys. Good morning to everybody joining from different platforms. And so this is Roshan, by the way. And as Pragya mentioned, my current role is of that of a product designer in Intuit. And previously, I used to work in a company called Technologies, where I spent most of my career evolving as a designer. So in Technologies, I was part of a design team which grew from scratch, and we built a very powerful team there. So today, let me start off by giving you a small introduction about the topic itself, right? So, yep, let me share my screen if that works, hopefully. I am seeing a message, Pragya, that the screen sharing has been disabled.
Just give me a moment.
Yeah. Okay, yep, it's up and running now. Thank you. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, wonderful. So, yep, so the topic that I'm going to address today is the incredible potential to grow as a designer in an organization currently on a journey towards enhancing its UX maturity, right? So first of all, what is UX maturity, right? So UX maturity is a term used to define the understanding, acceptance, and the level of integration of design in a company, right? So if you are a designer today, and if you want to judge whether your company is UX mature or not, or in the path of getting UX mature, you can think about the different challenges that you face today in your company as part of your daily work, right? So some of the challenges that you face in a company which has a rather low UX maturity or is in a path to evolve its UX maturity, some of these challenges are these, right? So as in, first one is the lack of guidance and mentorship. Many a chances it could be that you are the only designer in your team, in your company, right? And there is no person senior to you, there's nobody to guide you, there's nobody to mentor you. So this is a big challenge wherein you're not sure of the roadmap of your career, how you will grow in the company, how will you grow as a designer. So there is total lack of guidance and mentorship, right? The next challenge is the lack of awareness on design processes itself among across the company, right? People are not aware of the importance of design. People are not aware of the process involved in design, be it UX process, be it design thinking, whatever it is, right? People are not aware of the importance of design, right? And it is constant challenge between you and your teammates to kind of push design to the importance that it needs, right? The third one is the lack of clarity as to when to involve designers, right? So people might be giving, your colleagues might be giving you work projects, but they don't know when to involve you in the entire process of product development, right? So as designers, you are looking for involvement in the collaborative product development activity, but there is no clarity in your company as to when the designer should be involved in the project, right? And the other and the most important challenge is, if anytime you look at you request for a user research activity, you get pushed down saying it's not important. We just want designs, we just want screens, we just want prototypes, all that, right? Without giving you the opportunity to do user research, right? They don't, the company does not understand the importance of user research, and or they don't agree to do user research, spend that time doing user research the way that you want to, right? So if any of you guys are facing these challenges, it's most likely that you are in an organization where the UX maturity is rather evolving, right? It is in its very early stages, right? So as somebody who does not like to give advices, so I will not be giving you pointers on how to improve, how to grow, and all that. So as somebody who hates giving advices, I would rather like to walk you guys through my personal journey in design, and how being a part of a company which built its first design team, and how this design team kind of transformed over a period of 5 years, right? And throughout the journey, you would hear about the challenges I faced, we as a team faced in the company, which many of you might relate, right? Hit a thumbs up whenever you feel that you relate to these challenges, right? So without any further ado, let me walk you through my personal journey, right? Right. So I'll be time and again looking at the chat if there are any questions. So yeah, please, if you have any thoughts to share, any questions to ask, please put it on your in the chat window, especially people in the Zoom call, right? So yeah, so my personal story. So as many of us in the design in India, whenever a child is born, they stamp the child with the future roadmap as to whether he is being an engineer or a doctor, right? Same applied to me. I was given two options, engineer or doctor, right? And but fortunately, I was actually very inclined towards engineering, right? I had access to computers very early when I was a kid, and then I started coding very early as well. So programming was something I really enjoyed. So I used to spend a lot of time in my teenage programming, learning different languages, and all that. And that really inspired me to take up engineering as well. So it was not something that was pushed on me. I was really genuinely interested on it. So when I came to college, I started doing programming and all that. I really got interested into JavaScript and stuff like that, all the programming languages. And after my college, I did my engineering. So I don't have a design background. I have an engineering background. So I did my engineering from an university in information technology. So I got selected from the campus to my first company, Soliton Technologies, and that was a very big milestone in my life, right? I got selected as a software engineer, as a project engineer, wherein I was expected to develop, program, code, and I really loved that particular job, right? So the first year of my corporate career, I used to do every odd job. Like I was involved in machine learning, data analytics. I used to learn different kinds of programming languages. Some of them were graphical, some of them text, Python, JavaScript, and all that. Right. So I was really involved into learning JavaScript because that was some programming language that I really loved. So what happened, that's when the chapter really starts about how I started moving to design, right? So I spent the first year trying to become a master of JavaScript, right? I was working in this awesome project, which was very complex, very huge, as in the scale of things that the project was on. And I used to head understanding JavaScript because the entire program was built on an Angular framework and Angular JS framework, which needed you to understand JavaScript in and out. So I used to spend day in and day out on JavaScript. But after that, a point came where Google announced that your support for Angular JS will be obsolete. Angular JS framework in itself will get obsolete, and the next version of Angular JS, that is Angular, that will come in, which will not be supported by JavaScript, but instead it will be supported by another programming language called TypeScript. So I was thinking, okay, I've spent so much amount of time becoming expert in JavaScript. Now, if I have to spend so much time again to become an expert in some other language, that was foolish of me to think that it will take again a lot of time to become an expert in another language, right? So that was one factor. And the next factor was something very fortunate that it happened to me. So I got into a project where my customers were actually Chinese customers. So they did not understand a word of English. So any communication between us had to happen through some kind of medium in between, right? So I still remember my calls with those customers where I used to tell them, this is how I'm going to work. This is the features that I'm going to develop for you. These are the bugs that I'm going to solve for you. And they would always say, okay, because that's the only English that they kind of knew. And when the entire thing was developed, they used to come back saying, this is not we want, we want to change this, we want to change that, right? So at that point, what I started doing is started to communicate with them diagrammatically. So I used to open up Paint. So, and I used to draw small boxes to indicate text boxes, small boxes to indicate buttons and all that, color them, and then send them across with the message that with supporting text. What they used to do is convert that text into Chinese and kind of understand. So these kind of back and forth really improved the communication between me and the Chinese customers, right? So then I started doing small prototypes as to, okay, this is how the transition will happen, this is how the navigation will happen, all that. And I really started to enjoy the entire diagrammatic prototyping, wireframing things. So at the same point, I started to learn that, okay, this is part of something larger, which is the design process. So prototyping, wireframing, and all that is actually design process, right? So that's when I started thinking, okay, I am actually really loving doing these prototypes, doing these small navigations and stuff like that. Why don't I make it my career, right? I used to wake up daily happy that I'm going to solve this problem for my customer who does not understand English, right? So I used to love designing. I used to love drawing these small boxes and all that. So that's when I reached out to my manager and said, uh, I don't want to be a software developer anymore. I want to be a software designer. So my manager was really puzzled. But during this entire time, I had spent 1 or 2 years, 1.5 years in the company, and I had built that trust that okay, Roshan is a trustworthy person. So even though it was confusing, but the manager agreed that I can make that transition because in the company, though the company has been there for 20 odd years, there was nobody who had transitioned from an engineering background to a design background. There was no design team as such. We had one designer for one project that we were working on, and it was very early that he had joined around 6 months before, and we were not really sure where we were going with having a design team in itself, right? So that was a challenge put forward to me, right? Being the more experienced of the two designers in hand, I was kind of like put in charge of, okay, let's form a design team. So how I used to go about it is, I used to, I still had some of the developmental dependencies on me for the project. So I had to spend 50% developing programming and then 50% in my design team. So at the same time, what happened is I took it as a challenge that okay, let's form a team and then see how it goes about, right? Let's form a team and see how design impacts the company, right? So yeah, yep. So that was a challenge that I took upon myself that okay, let's form a good design team in our company. So as we started forming this team, we recruited one more person for forming this entire team. And being very new to design, I'm not sure how I interviewed the person. We gave him an assignment and then we took him because of the amazing work he did. So it was just three of us starting newly forming the design team for this entire company. Right. So as we were trying to do design, I moved. This was the first year of forming the design team. I moved totally from engineering to design and started learning more about design, right? So it was through reading books, reading the as usual the design of everyday things, that book, and then doing a course on design thinking, all that. So all that kind of started giving me a lot of confidence on the power of design and how design can influence not only small things but entire workflow, entire direction in which a product has to go in, right? Entire direction in which the company can move towards to. So, so interesting point to note there is how the design team used to function when it started, right? So you look at the top of the funnel, all the requirements for, so this company was a service company, right? We used to service for semiconductor industries. We used to create softwares for the semiconductor industries. So we were having customers who are like top 4 global manufacturers of semiconductor chips. So we had amazing customers. So how it used to happen is our business leads and project managers used to go pitch a project and win those projects and have all the requirements frozen for a particular company, and then come to the design team saying, okay, these are all the requirements, this is how you have to, these are all the features we want, this is how it has to be. And then finally, we as designers go in, create those amazing screens and add colors to them, right? So that's how the design team was portrayed as people who add colors to the design, right, to the screens. So that was how we kind of all were functioning for the first part of the first year of forming the design team, right? So when I started reading about different things and learning more about design, I kind of understood that everything that I see around is design, right? So the power of design is so much that it can influence different things. And then I started suggesting that, okay, design has much more to do than just adding colors to the screens that are already frozen. So let's make a bigger impact in our next year, right? So the second year came about, and that is when things really started to change, right? What we did, three of us, was we we invited all the managers for a meeting and kind of called out saying that we don't want to be a team which gets involved after all the requirements have been frozen, all the features have been decided on, and then come in and say that you create navigations now, you create features, screens, and all those things now, right? We want a seat at the table wherein you are, when you are meeting your customer for the first time, we want a seat at that table, right? That was the prestigious table that we in the design team looked forward to, right? We want to understand the customer's pain point. We want to understand the user. We want to understand firsthand from them what they want. And then we want to decide, design team want to collaborate with all the salespeople, the project managers, developers, all of them to decide what is best for the user. We cannot be saying that our design is user driven when we are not even talking to any user, right? So we want the seat at that prestigious table. So this was a request that we put forward to our project managers, and not all of them approved as is expected, because it was a new team. We hadn't proved anything, and there were doubts as to why we would need to spend that amount of time spending on design and all that. But since my manager was somebody who was close to me, and he was like a buddy to me, and he had the trust in the team that, okay, this team is kind of special. So what happened is, in one of the projects that he was involved in Bangalore, we kind of he was meeting the customer, going to meet the customer in person. So he tagged me along him with some homework that we had done, and that was the first time I'm going to meet a customer, and we have told the customer that there will be a designer in the team when we meet the customer first, right? So I go to that. So very happily, I go to the customer's office, and we sit down in a room. And so, as you know, designers nowadays, Figma is kind of big, but those days, Sketch was the tool that was very big, and kind of that was the tool that every designer was using, and that used to work only on MacBook. So I had my MacBook, and I went into the table and opened my MacBook and kept it on the table. And immediately the customer looked at the MacBook and said, "Oh, fancy designer! All these designers have a MacBook." So that was a conversation starter, right? Having a designer in the room, the customer was already intrigued, saying, "Okay, a designer is in the room." There is some impression that was made. So during the talk, we were pitching something, we were pitching an idea, and the customer was coming back with his own feedback, with his own comments and ideas on the things that we were presenting, right? So what I was doing during that time, during the presentation itself, was creating a hand sketch of things that the customer had wanted, right? The flow that the customer was looking for. And during the end of the presentation, we kind of showed the customer that, okay, is this something that you are looking for, right? This is the new flow that you talked about. Is this the journey that you're looking for, right? And in that meeting in itself, where we went in with a pitch, we got the feedback, and we improved upon the pitch that we had, and kind of improved the flow. The customer was kind of impressed, right? And my manager was kind of impressed that we could do that. And we that created a environment wherein having a designer was now seen as something, as a start of a good conversation, right? So this word of mouth of okay, having a designer really impacts the way customers look at the company, kind of started to spread. Like that word of mouth kind of started to spread across other teams in the company, and we started doing pitches. Like we started having designers in the team that goes to meet the customers, right? So we kind of cemented that position in the prestigious table. That was solely because we were able to make conversation with the customer, wherein the customers wanted to come back and see the design that we had made, the user journey that we were suggesting, all that, right? So that started to create impact, right? So how the pitches, how the customer, so since this was a service company, how we used to pitch to a customer was earlier through Excel sheets, right? We used to have an Excel sheet of features, timelines, and when we will deliver it, all that. And this is what the customers were looking at, all these Excel sheets with numbers. But with a designer in the team, what the company could do is a designer could visualize the entire product for the customer, right? So the customers could actually see how their product would look like 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, right? They had a clear picture of, okay, this is how my software would look like, right? So that gave them a lot of confidence in the company. And there was a systemic shift from how we used to do pitches, how we used to win projects, from an Excel driven approach to a mock-up driven approach, right? What we used to do is we talk to the customer, we always have a designer allocated before going to talk to the customer. And we always used to come back and create mock-ups, create screens based on whatever ideas we have, and then present that again to the customer. We used to have continuous conversation with the customer, and then finally these continuous conversations led to more successful conversion of potential customers into paying customers, right? We started winning projects, we started delivering more innovative solutions to the customers. The customers started to look at us as a design driven project team, right? So every project started having a designer in them, a designer. Without designers, some projects were delayed because there were no designers to help the team. So you see the shift in the entire way the company is working, right? The workflow of how the project used to be delivered first, and now with the designer in place, how it is getting delivered, right? So what during the same time, what started to happen is this happened during the first 3 years of the design team, first 2-3 years of the design team, where we created the impact. We established ourselves as an important team in the prestigious table. And then what happened is we started getting a lot of projects from across the company, right? We were doing multiple different projects, and everybody wanted to have a designer in their team, but we were just 3 people there, right? So it used to happen that the same designer in a single day is working on 3 different projects. He's context switching between one project in the morning, one project in the afternoon, one project at night, and it was really tough for us to context switch between different projects, right? This is a challenge that comes in when you are kind of a very small team in the company, and you're serving teams across the company. You're like a service company inside the company, right? So what we wanted to do is we wanted to train ourselves in a process wherein we know how many projects come in, what expectation we set as the team on how we will deliver those projects to the stakeholders, right? Be it project managers, be it developers, right? So we had to define how we will collaborate with project managers as well as the developers, right? And also define when to involve a designer, right? It was really tough for the project managers to understand when actually should you involve a designer, right? So that was something that we cleared in our previous year, that okay, involve the designers the first time you meet the customers, right? So that was clear. But the next point as to okay, how do we start the entire process, right? So we kind of three of us and the team started growing a little bit, and we started adding more designers to the team. So all of us kind of decided that we need to have a process, we need to have a proper design process, that we inform all the project managers across the teams that this is the process that we will follow. These are the deliverables that you can expect, right? So what we did is we went ahead and started searching for all the different processes out there that the market, that the industry follows. So one such was the double diamond approach of going broad and going narrow, and then like empathizing, prototyping, ideating, testing, all of that, right? So we came up with a process that works for us, the small team that we were, and then we started having meetings with other teams that okay, this is the process that we will be following, this is the things that you can expect. We will have user research first. You can expect a research insight after the user research. We will have low fidelity wireframes. We will have sketched ideas. We will be including you in brainstorming activities. We will have low fidelity wireframes. We will have high fidelity wireframes, and then only we will focus on visual design and content design and all of that. So at each stage, what will be our deliverables? So we had to establish the process so that the influx of projects and the expectations is set properly to all the stakeholders, so that so that the quality of deliverable is up to the mark, and it does not depend on the uh, designer who is working on the project. And irrespective of the skills of the designer, the quality of the deliverable is maintained to the team, right? So the process remains an important aspect of that particular entire establishment, right? So once we started, we established the process, but still we were having because the team was creating an impact which was very visible because of the systemic changes happening in the company. Um, we were flooded with lots of projects, so we kind of wanted to increase the number of people in the team, and we started looking out for lateral recruits to recruit people from other design in the domains into our team. But what happened was we were not able to find a suitable fit because we were in a very niche domain. We were in a semiconductor domain where people expect you to understand some of the semiconductor lingos, like what is transistors, resistors, amplifiers, and all that. And lots of designers, we were not meeting lots of designers who were willing to take that initiative to learn the domain, right? So what we started doing is we looked back at the team, and I looked back on myself saying, okay, who am I? Like, I'm not a trained designer. Why am I looking for a trained designer, right? I am an engineer who became a designer, right? So there might be people inside the team, inside the company, who are also looking forward to become designers. Maybe there are some creative people in the company itself whom we can train, right? So we started looking inside the company for talents, and we started having this funny interview sessions with them, giving them small assignments to see how they do. And really we were looking for that curiosity to learn, curiosity to the passion towards design, and all of those kinds of stuffs, right? If they are crazy about design, if they have some crazy ideas and all that. So we started with from 3 people, we recruited 2 more, and we became a 5-member team. And we kind of understood that in the company, people are actually looking forward to join the design team. And when we opened it up for like when we opened it up saying that we have job opportunities inside the company, we got so many applications, and that kind of put a faith in us that okay, we are going the right direction, right? So we grew from for 3 to 5, and a lot of the challenge that came up was from the upper management was a question on why do you want more people? Are you creating impact, right? So because we had created impact before and we had seen that systemic shift, and there was something called as customer delight score that we used to maintain in our organization. So that kind of really started shooting up whenever a designer was involved in the project, right? We got started getting good feedback from the customers because this was a service design company. A lot of importance was given on the feedback from the customers, right? So because of that, we got this approval to recruit more people, and it is very important when you're growing that you have more manpower, because you don't want to be involved in so many projects together that you don't get time for yourself, for your own growth, right, for your learnings and all that. So what we decided is one designer will not take up more than 2 projects at the same time parallelly, right? Every designer should have a learning hour where she spends time on learning new things about design, right? Its own growth. So that is very important when you scale. That is the reason you definitely want to scale up, not only for the business goals, but also for yourself, right? So that you get more time to look into yourself as to how you want to grow as a designer, right? So that was the one phase, and the next phase, the final phase, when we have grown to a particular team size, right? We started adding, like from 5 in the third year, I think we grew to almost 9, 10 people in the fourth year, with including contract designers as well, because we were having so many projects to work on. So at that point, what we were doing is the same designer was involved in user research. He was doing low fidelity wireframes. He was doing visual design, content design, everything. The same designer was doing everything, right? We were more of a generalist, as to a jack of all trades, but not a master of any, right? So what we decided as a team, and that okay, we have our own interests, we have our own skills and talents. Some people are very good at communication, very good at talking to customers. Some people are very good at visual design, choosing the right kind of colors, choosing the right kind of combination of fonts, typography, all that, right? So we started identifying those talents within the team and started building expertise on those fields, right? For example, what we decided to do is, okay, we will have a team focused just on user research, right? Any user research opportunity that we will have in future, these people will get involved, right? These people will be responsible to do user research for the entire team. Then we decided, okay, there will be a team for interaction design, experts in interaction design, who will be understanding the software patterns. How do you use recall as a tool or as a weapon? How do you navigate from one place to another? How do you care about accessibility? All those stuffs, right? And then we will have a team for visual design and content design. People who will look at design systems, who will look at what kind of colors to choose, what kind of fonts to choose, and all that, right? We started creating these expertise in ourselves, and then kind of we wanted to move from a generalist design team to having experts inside design team who we look forward to. Any junior who comes in can look forward to a user researcher and say, I want to be that person in 2 years, right? So that was one big challenge as to how do you form an expertise in the team, right? We started looking inside. We wanted to get trained from people in the industry. We started having workshops with them, and that really helped us gauge ourselves as to how we stand against the industry standards and kind of improve upon ourselves, right? So the final 5th year, the final, I was talking about the entire journey of 5 years, right? The fifth year is when so in fifth year, we got a big project from a very big company. And we as a team wanted to, we saw that as an opportunity for us to learn from that big company, like how designers in such a big company work and how they give their deliverables, how their designs look like and all that. So 3 months down, 6 months down that particular project, we got a funny request from the chief of design from that company, and they actually wanted to meet us to learn from us as to how we are giving good designs, right? So that was the point where I felt kind of a sense of fulfillment when this team has now grown into a 10-12 member team, and we are getting requests from a well-established design team in a big company asking our inputs on how we design, how we design such good experiences, right? So at the same time, after like 5 years of starting the design team, we won the prestigious most innovative team of the year award for that particular year in the company. And at that point, I thought of the first year wherein I put up a challenge on myself, like, okay, we should form a good design team. And 5 years down the line, when we got that recognition, that was kind of fulfillment of all the hard works, all the challenges that we had faced to grow, and not only as designers but also as a team where we had lots of challenges. We had to cross a lot of hurdles to come to this point where we were recognized as one of the most innovative team of the company, right? So yeah, that was the entire journey of that small team, and how it grew and transformed over the period of 5 years. And a takeaway that I kind of would like to give to everybody in the session today are these things, right? And it is in no particular order, because there is no shortcut to success, no priority for success, and it depends on the company that you are in, and especially in the team that you build and all that. So one is to learn daily, right? You have to be updated with what is happening in design currently, how AI is shaping design and how it is changing the way we work. What are the different things? What are the different case studies that we can learn from? What are the different good materials out there that we can get inspired from, different domains that we get inspired from, right? So learning daily is by default is the default in your journey to growth. And the next one is to measure your growth, right? What I hear from my seniors, from my experience, is you cannot improve if you cannot measure, right? Be it that you are in a product company or in a service company like I was, there should definitely be a value, a number associated to your performance, your team's performance, and then you make a change in design, you make some change in experience. You should be able to have instrumentation in place so that you measure what the impact of your team, your design, your own personal influence on the project is, right? You have to have that growth so that if anybody challenges why you want to do user research in a particular project, you have the numbers in place. What they're looking for might be numbers, or they might be looking for some confidence in you, right? But the more often than not, most of the project managers, stakeholders want to look at the numbers, right? So if you have that numbers ready, it is very easy to convince people to allow you to do what you want to do in that particular project, in that particular UX process, right? So definitely measure your growth, and definitely make a buddy, as in make connections in your team, collaborate with your partners, right? Your project managers and your developers are not your competitors, they are not your challenges, they are your partners, right? Your partners of crime in creating that particular product. So create meaningful connections with them, create trust among the team so that they become your biggest advocates for other teams, right? So that's what really helped us, where we had a strong advocate for design team in the company, where we got a lot of opportunities to showcase our skills and talents and make that particular impact, right? And partnering with cross-functional team is absolutely important, because you can come up with very fancy designs, but unless and until you know that it can be built with the technology that they have, and what are the limits of the technology, how can we push the limits, is it really useful to push the limits today, or should we wait till the next phase? So you should understand how they function, what are the challenges. Other teams like marketing, sales, and your developers, your managers, what are the challenges they face, so that you understand how much you can push, how much you can retract, all of that. So we have to partner with cross-functional team, definitely understand how they function, they go about their daily work, right? And grow your team. Whenever, don't be taking up project after project, right? Don't, I would suggest not to work on multiple projects at the same time, because the context switching is really difficult when you are growing. So it definitely helps when you have more manpower, right? So fight for having more people in your team, delegate more work to others, create expertise. And to help grow your team, definitely you should have a process to not only to follow like how you develop a particular product or feature or anything of those sorts, but also how you train your new folks, right? How do you inform them, teach them about the domain, teach them about the practices, what people like, what people don't like, how to go about research and all that, right? And then finally, build expertise in the team, in yourself. Identify yourself as to where you are good at, right? If you are good at communications, you might be really good at user research. If you're good at visual design, you might become a really good visual design expert, designing systems, designing branding, marketing materials, all that. So identify yourselves, identify talent present in the team, and build that expertise, work on top of those expertise to create a team environment where everybody is thriving, right? So that's when the entire team grows along with you. So with these thoughts, that's all I had to kind of convey. And I thought, even though my journey is in a very niche semiconductor industry, but the challenges that we had gone through, the pushbacks, and the way that we handled it might be relatable to people in other industries as well. And I felt these journeys might be useful and relatable to you. And I hope some of the pointers are helpful to you guys. And I'm up for any questions that you have, team. Looking forward to your questions.
Audience, please feel free to ask your questions, or you can raise your hand so we can unmute you.
Okay, there is one question from Premalata Mahajan. How to start with UX and UI designing? Right, that's a very good question. And first of all, we need to understand what is UX and UI designing, right? If those are two different things, or are they the same thing, right? So many people, when they start, how they look at UX and UI is all the screens that you look at, and then UX is all the project flows, how it flows from one page to the other, all that, right? But I would rather say not to look at it like UX versus UI, or you should have a very good understanding of what you are going to learn, right? So when you look at UI, it is actually a part of UX. Everything you see is user experience, right? UI is actually a subset of user experience. So in UX, you have multiple other things as well. Like, for example, if you look at, if, for example, you take Amazon, for example, right? You want to buy a book, let's say, right? The immediate thought that I can buy a book by going to Amazon is actually a point where your design is already started, because you have seen a lot of brandings, you have gotten reviews from your friends who have already bought books from Amazon, saying, okay, Amazon is good, right? You can find books there. So already the design has started kicking there in itself, right to the point where you are getting your delivery, right? If your delivery person is very rude to you, saying, take this book, right, or he does not deliver to your address and it somewhere drops somewhere else, right? So that particular person is also contributing to the experience that you are having with Amazon. So it's not only the website that you look at, it's the entire spectrum. The user experience is the entire spectrum, starting from the thought that Amazon can be a platform that I go to the delivery that you get and the product. So when you are thinking of starting with UX and UI designing, you can think of starting with any of these, right? How do you market? That is also UX design, UI design. What content did you see in Amazon? How do you organize the content? That is also UX. What colors did you see? How did you associate your package with Amazon? Because of the logo, because of the cardboard. So all of that is again UX, right? So find a hobby that you really like. Maybe you like drawing, maybe you like colors. So you start with that, and then you slowly build your habit of doing colors, doing art, doing screens, doing content, doing logos, and then you grow from there to other stages. Okay, this, if you are somebody who really loves creating arts or designs or logos, so how this logo, let's put it in a website. So now let's design a website. Now you have a website in place, now design a mobile app. Okay, now I have a mobile app in place, let's design a watch face for that. So that's how you can start thinking about starting small and then growing big, right? I hope that answers, Premlata, how you can. And there are some awesome books that you can definitely refer to, some courses that you do. But I don't really push for courses, because I feel this is something that you can learn a lot on your own, and on your as in but this is all by practice that you learn. Courses are definitely good directions, and if you are really starting off from scratch, you can definitely go for multiple courses available on Google, LinkedIn, and a lot of platforms are there. But yeah, but I would say start small. Okay, there is another question from Suchita Agarwal. Is there any site where daily design updates are uploaded, or anywhere we can read design blogs and stay updated with design news? Definitely, I would suggest Medium. And if you don't have Medium subscription, it's costly, but I would suggest to get one, because there are some awesome designers that are there in Medium, writing about their own design process. Like for example, Atlassian has one design forum in Medium. You can follow them on Medium. And then there is my personal favorite one of because I like hand sketching. So there is a designer, an artist called Pablo Stanley, who is really good, who has some wonderful comics on design and the problems a designer faces and all that. So you can definitely follow him. You can follow Shopify. They have not only Medium articles, they have YouTube channels where they discuss UX trends. They have the designers in the Shopify team to kind of look at um, the design trends and all that, right? So definitely a lot of different channels, but the ones that I personally use is Medium, and I follow a lot of companies there. My own company, Intuit, I follow them, and different websites for those companies as well, which really keeps me up to date on the design front. Yeah. With the first video, okay. Another question is, recommend some sources. It would be great, right? So the one that I did personally was design thinking, mastering design thinking by MIT. So that was a course. It was a 6 months course, and it was open for international audience. And if you can get sponsorship from your company, that will be really great, because it's a little on the costlier side. But it was a very good uh, course on design thinking with international audience. That was really good, because the participants were from different backgrounds, somebody from animation, somebody from marketing, somebody from project management. It was really good. So it was organized by Emeritus. You can find them on LinkedIn, Emeritus, Emeritus. And then and I think yep, the one that I personally followed was that. And yep, any other I think our Institute of Product Leadership also has some amazing courses that you can really explore and and learn from them as well. So those will be really good when you're starting, when you are when you want to get expertise on some niche fronts, right? So those courses at that point will be really helpful. So yeah, I hope that gives you some direction, Premlata.
Um, do you want to take more questions?
I think we are up on time. If are there any more questions? I don't see them.
Yeah,
Is it? I can
yeah,
take it
we
on
do have
later.
more questions, but in the view of time constraints, we have to stop the Q&A here. And thank you so much for engaging with IPL. And it was a complete pleasure hosting you. And the session was also very nice. And for the questions that went unanswered, please, you can just ping us, or you can follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, or anywhere. And we'll be addressing all your questions. And Mr. Roshan, please accept a small certificate of appreciation from the Institute.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
audience, thank you so much for joining in and coming up with this Saturday. Yeah. So thank you so much. And I hope that we get a chance to host you again in future.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, team. Thank you for
Thank you.
having me. And happy weekend to all who joined. I hope this was a useful session for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.